speech. We talked a lot about the people that we serve with disabilities in the studio and how it enriches their lives. Today I want to talk a little bit more about the employees that work, teach, and serve the studio and how we support each other with all our special needs. I am inspired by Galen Lee, who performed at last year's fundraiser and spoke about disability pride. She has middle bone disease and gets around in a wheelchair, performing her violin like a cello. She promotes the belief in society that disability is a natural and beautiful part of human diversity and to take pride. I thought a lot about my journey and how my being highly sensitive in the long run has turned out to be an amazing gift. I founded this nonprofit 10 years ago. I have been very open about my struggles with anxiety. I talk about it all the time. It is so important because there is still so much negative stigma associated with mental disorders. I was born a highly sensitive person. I was convinced that I was from another planet and my people would eventually come for me. So I waited it out in the closet with a pillow over my head every chance I got. I waited until I was 8. When my people from the other planet didn't come, I accepted the challenge of living in this world. I turned to art to create a world I could be in. And it has evolved into this studio that we have today. Because of my special needs, this gift of being highly sensitive, I came to create this. My sister Mary, who you heard sing tonight, is a painter and a musician. She face paints at our birthday parties and she prepares our canvases. She also happens to have bipolar disorder. Peter has a beautiful voice and creates a magical world in painting, and he has autism.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way.
Mary and Peter are a beautiful part of the studio and enrich our lives with their unique perspectives. Then there's Jean. Jean is a fabulous painter of realism. She has a meticulous eye for detail. Jean copes with a learning disability and OCD. What this means for Jean is that she fixates on specific order of tasks and hears a negative dialogue in her head. When she is nervous, she stutters to find the right word. Jean hates change and has had to adjust to the never-ending changes that take place in the studio daily. After a particularly frustrating day for Jean, where she continued to get off track at the studio, she said to me, "What is there to be proud of having an OCD and a learning disability?" Well, let me tell you. Jean joined the studio 3 months in, so over 9.5 years ago. I had never met anyone quite like Jean before. Of course, I know what it's like to be me, and my father was bipolar, so I get married. Peter came to us through Autism Works, so I was briefed on Peter's special qualities. But Jean was different. She didn't tell me what was going on for 3 years. In the beginning, Jean didn't make eye contact and didn't feel comfortable talking to people, working the register or answering the phone. She basically washed brushes and listened to me talk about the studio. I didn't know it, but Jean was memorizing everything I said. After a year or so, Jean was answering the phone and waiting on drop-in painters. After 3 years, Jean was hosting birthday parties. After 6 years, Jean was teaching a couple of summer camp classes and going to the hospital on her own to teach moms on bed rest. After 8 years, Jean was our main summer camp teacher and after-school teacher, and on Friday nights, she teaches our adult paint grade classes. Jean wants to teach everything and comes in on her own time off to encourage drop-in painters and to personally greet our special needs adults that come in with their day programs. Just this past summer, Jean taught 14 out of our 22 camps in the 11 weeks of summer camps. Jean was teaching for the first time a camp called Art Wearables and Accessories. The kids spend a week for 3 hours a day creating outfits and accessories. In past years, the kids would invite parents and grandparents to a fashion show on the final Friday. The teacher MCs the show, and Jean was stressing out about that for months. I told her not to worry and that I would MC for her. Friday came, and Jean told me that 2 of the kids didn't want to do the show. They were scared. Our motto here at the studio is it's about peace and love, and no one needs to do anything that they are not comfortable with. So I told Jean, well, they don't have to then. Jean surprised me and said, well, that's not the solution I came up with. Jean said, I told them about me, and I told them that if they were brave enough to walk the runway, then I would do the announcing myself. She asked me to write down some descriptive words to help her. We set up a runway in the back garden, and 50 adults filed in. All the chairs were full, and everyone stood around with their phones up to record. Jean kept her eye on the kids, and her voice was strong and sure as she pointed out the clothes, bags, jewelry, and other individual accessories that the kids were modeling as they strutted down the runway. And I stood on the sidelines and wept. This is Jean's path. This is disability pride.
Since they don't make confessions, they don't care about market crashes or hunting fascists. They don't feel your pain or your ashes. They just tell you how it is. They're just watching. They're just watching. Let's fade out.
Well done, people.